This is Akashvani. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on solar energy, a viable energy source for future. The participants are Arun Tripathi, Advisor, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, and S. Rangabhashyam, Anchor.
The 6th Assembly of the International Solar Alliance was held recently. A lot of discussions and deliberations took place in which close to 150 countries participated, and representatives from these countries had deliberations on the future of solar energy and the contribution of solar energy in the world economy. To discuss about all these issues, Mr. Tripathi, a warm welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Let's start off with the deliberations of the 6th Assembly of the ISA, that is the International Solar Alliance. Tell us about the deliberations.
The ISA has a structure for getting various functional issues to be approved by the Assembly. The Assembly is the membership of today there are 116 members which have been ratified by their countries, and they are member of the International Solar Alliance. The International Solar Alliance registered in 2018 December, and after that period of more than 5 years, about 5 years, it has really grown to the level it was expected. In the Assembly, basically, the routine matters of the administrative issues are discussed, and they have been approved by the Assembly members. And in addition to that, there was the technical sessions on the innovative solar technologies, what is going on worldwide, and the people from the world's prestigious labs like Fraunhofer and the NREL, USA, Germany and Japan, and many countries also took part in that, online and the offline. And the latest technological development, how to make it effective for the whole world and the member countries, it was discussed in the meeting. And it was also discussed that the ISA should also try to promote the solar energy in African countries and those countries which really need its help. ISA today is working in the many areas, including the area of the solar thermal energy, solar photovoltaic energy, solar water pumping systems, solar affordable finances, scaling the solar applications for agriculture use, e-mobility, scaling mini grids, and other areas of the solar energy, power generation from the solar, hydrogen production from the green sources, EV battery, waste management, and so on.
In the 6th Assembly, among the deliberation points were the 65% of the requirements should come from renewables by the year 2030 and 90% of decarbonization by 2050. To talk about the first target, 65% from renewables by 2030. In the next, just 6 years are left. Don't you think that's a tough target to have?
India is concerned, India has 50% target by 2030 from the fossil fuels, non-fossil fuel based energy generation. 65%, I'm not too sure whether it was the target in ISA, because 50% is a little okay target. And this 50% is going to be achieved at least by the year.
The entire issue of need to enhance viability gap funding. Tell us about this particular issue. And we all know, finances are hard to come by and the sources of resources are very limited. So what is the stand of ISA as far as viability gap funding is concerned?
Today, solar energy does not need a viability gap funding. Because I give you a simple example is that the electricity being produced from the solar energy is the cheapest source of electricity being produced from any resources in the world. So, however, there are many countries, they need some support, they need some financial support, but ISA is not an organization which is going to give any funding for that. ISA facilitates the fundings through different lending institutions. ISA provides the mechanism for funding to those countries for different institutions, but ISA per se does not provide any direct financial support in this.
To talk about solar energy, you have been associated with the National Institute for Solar Energy as well. Most of the projects which are taken up are long gestation projects, and also the issue of being capital intensive needs a lot of funding and money. So what do you think should be the way of financing these projects?
In fact, I would like to break the myth of solar project being very expensive. Today, the solar projects are the cheapest projects of electricity generation. A solar project can be installed at about 3.5 to 4 crore rupees per megawatt system. While none of the project, even the hydro, coal, everything is much more than that. Second thing, as I told earlier, the electricity being produced from the solar is one of the cheapest one. And the best part, at least in India and other part of the world, is that the solar projects are coming up mostly with the private sector's support. Government has also stopped the viability gap funding. About 5 to 10 years back, it used to be, but today it is not at all required. So, as far as Indian funding is concerned, there are financial institutions like IREDA. They provide concessional loan for the developers, those who set up the plants. And some of the developers also, I think they arrange some foreign funding also, because the direct funding is permitted under the renewable energy systems. So I don't think funding is any issue in the resources, because in India, the solar energy has really come out in a very big way. And China, USA, Europe, every part of the world are taking it as a very, very important source of the electricity generation.
Let's also talk about standardization of equipment which are required for harnessing solar energy. What would you say, is there at this juncture a fair amount of standardization as far as equipments and ancillaries are concerned, so that across the globe the parts which are used in solar panels, storage batteries, everything standardized, whether it is India or some African country or some European country, so that it's easy to build up on capacity and move forward?
First of all, I would like to mention that everything is absolutely standardized. There is a IEC, world level body. American standards are there, Japanese standard, AIST standards are there, and Indian standards are there. So we have the notified standard as far as India is concerned, BIS has come out with many standards on the solar panels, 14286, 14287, 61730. There are many standards. And in India, there is a quality control order. There is a quality control mechanism which says that none of the panel can be installed in the country until it is lab tested as per the standards are concerned. We have more than 15 labs which have the testing facilities as per the BIS standards and the international standards. Similarly, for the inverters, for the batteries, the standards are already there and labs are there to test it. One of the very crucial area in which the government is giving a lot of emphasis to have only the standard products in the country. As far as ISA countries are concerned, they are also supposed to follow the international standards, IEC, AIST, or the American standards for installation of panels, modules, structures, and all the other parts.
Mr. Tripathi, ISA funded projects have kickstarted in countries like Malawi, where the parliament building is being taken over by solar energy, Fiji, Seychelles and others. But these are all small countries. What about the medium-sized and big countries, big economies? Aren't they interested in solar energy?
They are also interested in solar energy, but solar energy installation in a big way needs a complete ecosystem. Ecosystem means first thing is the regulation required. And today India has reached to such a level that it can guide the whole world, including the European countries and other countries, because we have the successful model in the country. So ecosystem is required. Funds are required in the beginning stage, which India invested its funds in 2011-10 when the solar energy was at the large scale at the starting point. And today we have a stringent standards, we have a stringent regulations, conjunction with Ministry of Power. Many notifications have come up, and even the open access notification has come up, which is very useful. It says that you can produce solar power or the other renewable power at any part of the country, and you can utilize the same power. You can draw the same power at any other part of the country. The limit has been reduced from 1 megawatt to 100 kilowatt. Means even a small entity can have a direct support they can directly buy power from the different places. So, these kind of ecosystems are required in those countries, in African countries, for which the ISA is supporting. ISA is also supporting the large quantity tendering process so that the costs are reduced. ISA is also supporting to give them the various schemes which have been successful in the country or all over the world, to give them the models, to give them the modus operandi for installations, for operation maintenance. So it's a kind of hand-holding organization and guiding organization rather than 100% funding for those countries. These countries have to make their own resources, and ISA provides the full guidance to them.
As we all know, India has been promoting Make in India and has been focusing on making India a manufacturing hub for the world. With respect to, solar equipment, do you think India could be made a manufacturing hub for all the solar equipment and ancillaries and maybe supply to all the ISA member countries? So that could be a win-win situation?
A very pertinent and valid question you have asked. In fact, the government of India has started giving a lot of impetus towards manufacturing. I would admit that we started late, but we have started. Because this is the very right time for India to come forward, like other part of the manufacturing, mobile and others. The world is looking towards India. And a PLI scheme, production linked scheme, has been brought by the government of India, not only in solar, but in other part of the other areas also. And according to this scheme, the many manufacturers, right from module is one of the part, but cell, and from the raw material, you produce the wafer to cell to module. The whole chain India has started to produce, and by 2025 end, India will develop a capability to meet not only the India's requirement, but for the whole world. India, and today many of our big manufacturers are already exporting their product. I would say that they export more than 40% of their production to different part of the world. USA, Germany, Europe has become a big market for India, and somehow the world is preferring today the India's product.
Yeah, Mr. Tripathi, you have been associated with the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy and also, with the National Institute of Solar Energy as Director General. I want to put this big question to you. The entire country is focusing on renewables, on EVs as far as vehicles are concerned, and trying to, reduce the consumption of fossil fuels. By when can we expect to see a perceptible dip in consumption of fossil fuels, especially, petrol and diesel and coal? By which year can we expect to see some, a major shift and a dip in consumption?
I'm too optimistic in this because there are three resources in which the country is focusing now. The first is the EV, you mentioned that, electric vehicles. Second thing is running our transport system through ethanols, through waste, through bio-waste. The third thing is to run it through hydrogen. So all three resources are being tapped, and I'm too optimistic to receive this by within next 5 years or by 2030.
Right.
At least 20 to 25% we would be in a position to reduce it. India is focusing to reduce is more than 50% of its consumption in that time. And the renewable energy can play a big role because, we can produce electricity. We can't produce oil. We have very limited resources. So to produce electricity through renewables, and nowadays a lot of charging station and the ecosystem is coming up. And all the big manufacturers of the country and internationally, they have started producing the EVs. Similarly, the hydrogen mission has been launched. And running the vehicle transport application is one of the biggest aim of the National Hydrogen Mission. In addition, as I told, the ethanol-based vehicle and transport system is going to come. 20% blending has already been allowed by the government of India. So if the resources and big people come for producing the ethanol through bioresources, then 20% blending in the petrol system is already allowed. So I'm too optimistic to say not more than 5 years.
Mr. Tripathi, Thank you so much for joining us for this program.
Thank you.
You were listening to a discussion on solar energy, a viable energy source for future. The participants were Arun Tripathi, Advisor, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, and S. Rangabhashyam, Anchor. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of Akashvani. You can listen to it on a mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on a YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may share your feedback about this program through email at airnsdtalks@gmail.com or WhatsApp on 9289094044.